what is there? There's actually a lot of great connections between archery and fatherhood for Lag BaOmer, which is tonight. So Lag BaOmer is a little holiday. That's the 33rd day of the Omer. So I just wanted to give everyone a little background into what is this holiday and what is the Omer. So the Omer is, we count from the second day of Passover until Shavuot every day. And every day we have a new day of the Omer. And it's a holdover coming from the agricultural aspect of ancient Israel. We would bring barley to the Holy Temple. The wheat harvest began shortly after Passover, and then it grew and grew. And if you go to Israel, around this time, you'll see wheat fields. That's when they start to blossom and to grow. Eventually harvesting around Shavuot, and you would bring your first fruits, the fruits of your labor, the wheat, to the Holy Temple. So that is kind of a holdover from that. But there's also a historical aspect to it. So that in the Talmud, we read about a very famous story, a very famous rabbi, Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was a second career rabbi. He came to Judaism at the age of 40. He was basically an illiterate person before then. He couldn't read. He met a very famous rabbi's daughter, who he married, and then he became a rabbi. It took him about 24 years to learn, and he became kind of the leader, one of the great leaders in the rabbinic movement. And he had many students. So there's a legend that's in the Talmud that says that around this time of the year, his students they started arguing with each other. There were 12,000 pairs of students, so 24,000 students who died during this time of the Omer. And it's because of that we have like kind of a semi-mourning practice, that we don't shave our beards and we don't get haircuts and we don't have weddings during this time. And it was on Lag BaOmer that the plague ended. Okay, the plague ended. Why was there a plague? Because they didn't treat each other with respect. The learning partners did not treat each other with respect, and God sends this plague. So, very timely. This is the most, I think, timely Lag BaOmer ever, because one, we have a plague going on, right? We have COVID-19. And the next part is, and then another thing is that we have people, we're cooped up, and we may not be the nicest to each other to a certain degree, right? Everyone reacts in different ways. But there's another aspect to it, which is there's a very famous rabbi, one of Akiva's students, named Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, again, just to give a little historical context, the Talmud talks about this plague, but what was really happening around this time was there was the Bar Kokhba revolts. And it was during this time that there was 2/3 of the indigenous population, the Jewish population of Israel at the time, was killed during this revolt. And so there was this time of great despair, a time of like the world is coming to an end. Again, sound familiar, right? A time of massive death. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, there's a very famous story of him and his son. He kind of speaks up against the Roman leadership, and he has to go into hiding in a cave. And he's in this cave for many years. And he's there with his son, his adult son. And he's there for like 13 years, I think. And they come out of the cave and they see that people are not following the mitzvot. And his eyes become like, the son's eyes become like laser vision, like kind of Superman. And he just starts destroying everything around him. And God says, go back into the cave. And he goes back into the cave for another 12, 13 years, comes out, and he sees a man gathering sticks, And he says, well, what are you gathering sticks for? He says, for Shabbat. And he says, I have 2 sticks, one for Shamor, one for Zachor, meaning that very famous line, L'cha Dodi, and the Torah, which says that we both observe and remember Shabbat, and he's okay from there. So we have here these like really interesting connections. And we light bonfires because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was this great light to the Jewish world. So we light bonfires and archery. How is archery? So what young Jewish students did was that they said to the Romans, because Torah study was forbidden, they said, we're going to go out and we're going hunting. And they brought their chetz vakeshet, their bow and arrow with them. But here's the thing, Jews don't hunt. So they would bring their bows and arrows, and they would go into these caves, and they would study Torah. So that is just a little bit about what is this holiday and what are we doing. So usually what we would be doing is, having some bro time and also lighting some fires and having, as you see here, I'm going to change my lighting bonfires. And, you can do that in your own home, but we can't do it together. But I wanted